ready and we're
Yep, I'm ready. I just pressed record, so we're good to go.
okay. So I'll take roll call. Alder Dorff.
Here.
Great. Alder Weary, noted for the record, he's not here yet, or absent at the moment. Clerk Teskey.
Here.
Chief of Staff Jeffries.
Here.
Carrie Racine.
Here.
Karen Schley.
Here.
Susan Smith, I'm here. H. Smet.
Here.
And Professor Staudinger.
I'm here.
Great. Okay, so first thing on our agenda is approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Alder Dorff, second by Mr. Smet. All those in favor of approving the agenda as written?
Aye.
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 And any nays or any noes? No. Okay, so the agenda is approved. Approval of the minutes. We have both May 21st and May 28th attached to our the packet or to Civ Clerk.
Move to approve the minutes from May 21st.
Okay, motion by Alder Dorff, second by Carrie Racine. All those in favor of approving the minutes of May 21st?
Aye.
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 And any opposed? No. Okay, so those are approved. Okay, so that's it for May 21st.
Move
And
to
next
approve
is
the minutes
approval-
from May 28th. Okay. Someone else doing that?
Great. Thanks. No, I didn't see anyone else, but
All right. Move to approve the minutes from May 28th.
I second it.
and second by Karen Schley. Any discussion or all those in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion I
Aye.
guess, first?
Aye.
Okay, all those in favor, aye. And any opposed? Okay, so all the May 28th, 2020 minutes are approved as well. And this brings us to our regular business. And the first thing on regular business is polling locations. Number one, consideration with possible action to approve a letter to the Green Bay Area Public School Board formally requesting the board to add an agenda item which would consider the use of the gyms at East, West, Southwest, and Preble as polling locations for this pandemic election year. So from my understanding, just for 2020.
Yes. So I have that letter. I was not able to get it into your packet, so I will attach it to the minutes. Just give me 1 second to make myself a co-host.
Well,
Hold
Dean,
on.
we need you to move closer again.
Oh, really? Gosh. Like, almost have to be like a rock star with it like right here. So just give me 1 second to make myself a co-host. Kim, I might have to boot you out for 1 second as a co-host.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. So I did have the opportunity to talk to the mayor about this letter, and he understands why this letter is. There we go. Well, it's something we'd like to do. In your packet, in the agenda, there is an item report that basically talks about, having a lot of distance between voters in order to stop the spread of COVID-19. There is a document, a link to a CDC document, and then there's also a link to the WEC. I think the CDC actually has some better guidance. So there was a meeting, which perhaps Alder Dorff would like to talk a little bit more about that. But what we'd like to do, we're asking the Green Bay Public School Board to consider putting this on the agenda for us to use all 4 high schools. for August and November. Now, the letter is signed Chris Teskey, but Chris, we can talk about that later. What I'd really like the committee to do is to just take a look at the letter and just approve the general idea that we're going to send a letter, give the reasons why we want to have to use the 4 high school gyms for those 2 elections, and to humbly request that they put this item on their agenda for public consideration. Alder Dorf, did you want to say anything more?
So the next meeting is a week from this Monday, and Superintendent Murley will not be the superintendent until after July 1st. And the other thing I wondered, if we don't address it to all the board members, do the board members see this, or does only the president and the superintendent see it?
Well, if we address it to all the board members, then they are all supposed to receive it.
So and we are addressing it to all the board members?
If you'd like, yep, this is just a draft.
Got it. Okay. So here is the concern. I'm looking at my calendar and I'm looking at July, and I anticipate that they will have a meeting on July 6th, although they may not, because I don't know if they're doing anything special with 4th of July weekend, because is Monday the holiday then for workers?
Friday is.
Friday is the holiday for workers? Okay. So that's good for public workers. Very good. Okay. So, but that would be the earliest if we addressed it to Superintendent Murley. I think we should address it to Superintendent Langenfeld. And I think we should ask for a specific date, a date certain, which would be for the school board meeting on June 15th.
On June 15th.
Yes.
Get it to them quickly so they can post it on their.
Okay.
That's just one thing. I would say that I had a good conversation with the mayor and 2 of the board members, the president and vice president. And since then, 2 other school board members have contacted me in favor of at least the August. The November piece, here was a concern, and we don't know if this is going to happen or not happen. Superintendent Murley in his former district has directed his district to not have any physical education next year, and elementary school classrooms, some of them will be moved to the high school and middle school gyms. So there's social distancing, which wouldn't be available with the elementary schools the way they are. So the president of our school board thinks that this might be one of the ideas that he has for Green Bay schools. They really don't have a plan in place at all yet for the school year. They don't know when staff is coming back. I think they have a plan for online summer school. I'm not for sure. But if they would be using those gymnasiums for elementary classes, then those gymnasiums would not be empty on November 3rd. And they might not use them. So that's a big out there thing. It wasn't anything to do with the security or some of the other things I thought they might be concerned about. But the vice president at the meeting was not as concerned about that. And the ask that we also made was there is a day off of school on October 30th, which is a Friday. And could they switch that? It's a trade-off day for parent-teacher conferences. And could they switch that to Tuesday, November 3rd, just a few days different? And that way we wouldn't need to worry too much about parking or security because no one would be in school. So that's another ask. And I also reached out to the teachers union on a big part in that. So I went to the people that are responsible for the teachers union. And I said, I don't know if we're going to be able to get the building or not, but would you consider this? They said legally it can be done. That's the first thing they had to check. Legally, they can change the calendar. But I haven't asked them for an answer because we don't have the building yet. So, and normally they would want a 3-day weekend because people do stuff. In a pandemic, people might not be doing stuff and they might not be going away for a 3-day weekend, or they might. And it all depends on what's coming down the pike. So that is what I know about the school board. And I was told that they were going to be asking Superintendent Langenfeld on Wednesday, which was 2 days ago, or no, yesterday, if they could get it on the agenda. And they were going to call me back, and they did not.
Okay.
So I would like if this letter goes out, I'd really like it to be from the committee, if that's possible, with a contact person on it. But that's what I would love to see happen, that this came from the whole committee if we decide this is a good ask.
So let's put this all together in one little piece. So we've got the letter, and everyone needs to, I know that it's kind of last minute, but it's up on your screen. So to weigh in on the general contents of the letter, addressing it to all board members, addressing it to current superintendent, Dr. Langenfeld, for the June 15th meeting from the members of the ad hoc committee. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts, I'll chime in. With those 3 changes / additions, I think it should go to all board members, yes. And I think we can address it to all board members, but then email it, because I do know that I'm not sure when they need to have their agenda finalized, but of course they have to have it published next week. So I think if we, as soon as we finalize the letter, if we can email it to all board members and Dr. Langenfeld, that would be great.
Great idea.
Specifically ask, and I see that you've changed that now, to be put on the agenda for the June 15th meeting. And maybe even, and we don't have to edit it too much, but maybe add that this is a something that needs to be decided immediately for election purposes, or something, adding a little urgency to the date. Because I think people in general tend to think, oh, the election's not till August, we can talk about this, later. And it's really, I think it's urgent. And then the last one I agree with as well, that I think it should come from the committee. And if we need to, in the first paragraph, explain with this committee briefly in 1 or 2 sentences what we're doing, but that we're not only alders, but also community members and concerned citizens, et cetera. And we want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to vote. And we're all asking on behalf of the, community of Green Bay, to be put on the agenda. I think with those additions, I think this letter should come from us, the committee.
Good points.
Yes, Clerk Teskey. I can't see everybody at once when the letter's up. So yes, go ahead. And you're on mute.
Okay, thanks. So like Barb said, we need a contact, that there should be a contact person listed. Can Barb Barb, would you be okay with it?
I don't think so. I really don't. I think it should be someone at City Hall, because I think that's who they have to work with. So, I've been the contact. The mayor could be the contact person.
I'll do it. I'll be the contact person. That's easy.
Okay. I just don't think it's appropriate.
I'll put my email and phone and all that good stuff.
Thanks, Elsie.
Any other comments?
Discussion.
Otherwise, I'll be looking for a vote for or against this as a whole package.
So if anyone has a motion.
But I just make a comment about the first sentence. It doesn't sound right. If you read,
Oh yeah, sorry.
There's a word missing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's me and my spell check.
I would move that we send this letter in this basic format with some editorial changes, and do it both via the snail mail, US mail, and email.
And is there a second? I don't have everybody on.
I'll
screen. Let
second.
me-
This is Allison.
Allison, okay. I
Who
think
made the first and
so.
second?
Who made the first?
Motion by Alder Dorf, and then I believe it was seconded by Allison.
Yep.
Okay. Any further discussion from the committee? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 And any opposed? No, okay, it passed unanimously, no one's opposed. So the first item of business we will approve unanimously. Okay, number 2, moving on, consideration with possible action on updated list of polling locations, both new and current. And I would look to Alder Dorf or Clerk Teskey for this, I think. Clerk Teskey, do you have an update on the current polling locations and sort of where we are with everything?
I believe Celestine has
Yes,
that.
I do. I'm just pulling that up so we can all see it. I love screen share. This is like the best thing ever.
Celestine, can you send that to me? Because I don't know where that's located.
Oh, sure. Give me one sec.
That's okay, when you get time.
Yeah, can I do it afterwards?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Now I'm going to. Okay, there we go. Okay, Chris, you have to explain this form.
I'm sorry, what?
You have to explain this spreadsheet.
Okay, I haven't seen it yet though, so I don't know if they made any changes.
Oh, yeah, then it's just what I think is probably from last week. I don't think I have any updates either from the mayor's office staff. I don't think they have any new updates.
Okay. Right, so anywhere where there's a Y, obviously under polling location, is a yes for both the August and November. The ones that, like the August, the question mark August, yes, that means they're not sure about November. So I think we talked about if they're not going to have it for August, if they're not going to have it for one or the other, we wouldn't use them. So we keep consistent so the citizens aren't confused by that.
Yes.
Yes.
So in looking, because we were kind of looking at Sears, and I thought when it came to the west side, that would pretty much cover us where there isn't any polling locations available. The only ones that I kind of had a question on was the Salvation Army, First Presbyterian Church, and Trinity. If, I didn't want to get too much at Sears. I'm sure we could fit them all in, but that's 3 of them that, I thought if we could get something, I guess it's kind of spread out against, Ashland and Broadway from one side of town to the other, one end of town to the other. So I wasn't sure. That would be about 13 wards, then that would go to Sears if we included those, but then our west side would be covered if we use Sears. And then I think we would be fine on the other side, the east side, if we could get Bay Beach Pavilion.
So we can, as soon as we are dispensed with this item, I know we should talk about it now. So Bay Beach, Director Ditchite, I did reach out to him, and he had a conversation with his staff about the use of Bay Beach. he and I had a little bit of an exchange about August. He was okay with November, and they don't have to winterize it until after November 3rd, so I think that would work. But given the events of the week, I did not have an opportunity to go back to Director Ditchite to find out what his final conversation was like with his staff for August. He does have some concerns about August. I did offer police help with getting people to the right place because we would need to have parking. We need to have parking that's set aside for voting like we always do in every place. We need to be able to direct people to Bay Beach for voting or the pavilion for voting as opposed to, having amusement at Bay Beach. But I have not had an opportunity to, like I said, go back to Director Ditchite to find out, what else his staff thought. He did have a lot of misgivings about August. So that's where we are. Seems like November will work, but it doesn't seem like August will for Bay Beach Pavilion.
Go ahead, Chris.
Can I ask what the mayor thinks about that?
So I did have an opportunity to talk to the mayor, and he understood Director Ditchite's concerns about August at Bay Beach. But like I said, I needed a little bit more information. I need a little more information from Director Ditchite. But the mayor understood his Director Ditchite's concerns about August, which is kind of what you've heard in the past, right, Chris?
Right. Our only issue that I see is we don't have a large place on the east side because we're looking for, because I went through, because we're gonna continue with 2 at Christ of the Bay Church.
Mm-hmm.
You said we were gonna go back to normal. So we were looking for, we need a home for 9 wards.
So I did also give him Triangle Hill, Colburn, which of course is on the west side and it's a little smaller, and the Wildlife Sanctuary event room. So he didn't see any issues with Triangle Hill, which I think is 100 people, and Wildlife Sanctuary, which is I think 150 people capacity. So he didn't see any issues with those. Now, Triangle Hill is actually really good. Wildlife Sanctuary, I'm not sure in terms of all of the qualifications for the WEC. But then again, we vote at UWGB, which to me, UWGB, Phoenix Rooms, and the Wildlife Sanctuary event rooms seem to be, in my head, a horse apiece in terms of accessibility. But of course, that remains to be seen. So if we don't have Bay Beach Pavilion for August, potentially we have Triangle and Wildlife Sanctuary event rooms for August.
Just so you're aware, Ward 6 and 7 are big wards.
They are. Okay.
Big. Yeah.
Okay.
Mine
Alder
would
Dorff?
be,
Oh, sorry.
She's still
That's okay.
talking. I'm thinking that I think we should try to use those 2 for August then, because August will probably not be the election that November 3rd will be, but then we should probably direct those people to Bay Beach for November 3rd. If we cannot absolutely use it in August, then we should use it November 3rd. And even posting at the polling location that, on November 3rd, you will be going, this location will move to Bay Beach. But Triangle Hill is pretty big and the Wildlife Sanctuary is pretty big. And I think that it's accessible because the children need it to be accessible. So, and I've been in there. I'm sure that many of you have been in there, but I think we should.
But it's the
say
event
yes to
space,
that.
it's not the school.
Not the school, the upper part. I've been in the upper part, both places I've been in.
Kim?
Yeah, I really don't think we should use any sites that we can't use for both elections. Because with 6 and 7 being so large, people are not going to be happy if they're bouncing all over the place. From past experience, I really think we need to keep them. If we got to be able to use them for both. And I know it's a pandemic, but it does. That's just my opinion, though.
Alder Dorff.
Is that all we need then? Just those 4 wards? And otherwise we're fine on the east side? May I ask Chris Teskey that?
So we're looking for homes for 9 wards, and we're talking thousands of people. And hopefully we won't have that we'll have a lot of absentee, but 6 and 7 alone are about 3,000 people, registered voters. So
But
that,
what I'm saying is, I know that in a perfect world, it'd be great not to have to use Bay Beach. Are we in the position where we can say that we can reject Bay Beach because we have plenty of room in the other places?
I don't think we have enough room in those 2 places, but that's just my opinion. 'Cause like I said, we're talking thousands of registered voters. I thought, yeah, I'm not sure. If you're telling me it's only 150 and 100 people in each, I don't know. I think we need to get more than.
I would hesitate to eliminate any polling places yet. I understand, Kim, what you're saying, and I think we should absolutely, our goal should be to get any polling location for both August and November, definitely, including the schools. But I don't think, at least at this point, we should eliminate one because we can only have it for August or November. As we, get to that sort of drop dead date where we have to decide, we may need to use a polling place for November that's not used for August. It just, it's not best practices, and will, some people upset, but I think it would be unwise to eliminate something that we might be able to use for one election or the other, at least at this point. That's my opinion. Yes, Clerk Teskey.
I guess talking about that, what we know is that that's going to be multiple calls on election day. That's where we see it. So if we have people on the phones, that's fine, but that's what we get on election day. Well, I'm standing here at the wildlife sanctuary and it's not here. That's what happens. And then, well, we do signs all the time. If we move something from one spot, from one election to a different, we always put up signs. You wouldn't believe the calls we get. Unbelievable. So, that's just another thing to consider then, that on election day, we have more phone help.
Right,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah,
Okay.
that's
well,
a-
the other thing is,
Yes.
even if we change the poll, if somebody has been going to the same poll location for the last 40 years, and suddenly instead of going to X, they have to go to Y, you may very well receive calls as well. So I think we have to be aware of that in advance and prepared for it. But it's really, as you know, we have to plan for it, prepare for it, and prepare voters for it. This will be a different election and whatnot. But I do hear both what you and Kim are saying, that best practice is to have the polling locations with spots. And I think at least all the meetings and calls I've been on, every time we're asking for something, we're asking for both elections. So at least now, that's the goal. But I hesitate to eliminate anything because we don't have enough at the moment. So go ahead.
I have to interrupt. Alder Weary's trying to get in. Can somebody let him in?
Yeah,
He's
give me a second.
in some waiting room. Okay.
It does affect our, the Wisconsin Elections Commission also. So we have to know, as long as we know then beforehand, because when we start working in one election, we need to have those polling places rearranged, and that's what we need soon, because we'll be getting ballots in, and when people go out and look, right now they're going to see the 2 high schools, I believe, unless it defaults back to the 31. We had the WEC check it and fix that for us last time. So we're going to have the WEC help us to redo, so when people go to my vote, they see the new changes. But yeah, there's a lot to it. So I just want you to be aware there's a lot of moving parts to this. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. We do not currently have a motion on the table. I don't know if we want to receive and file or if someone wants to make a motion.
Let's see. Well, I guess I will make a motion that we don't eliminate any possible polling locations at the point. We continue to try, to work toward getting polling locations for August and November. But if we can't, we don't eliminate anything.
A motion by Alder Dorff,
I'll second that.
second by Terry Ratine. Any further discussion from anyone else on this? Anyone else?
Other thing, we have to almost, which we didn't talk about, but if we do get the schools and we get them for just August, or do we want them? Or should we talk about that if we get the schools?
Yeah, I mean, we aren't even on their agenda yet, so I'm not sure.
So we
that,
should,
okay. We could put that on our next week's agenda. It's not.
No, the week after. Yeah, that'd be good. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh, sure.
That's it.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion on the floor, which is to continue pursuing all the polling locations that we're pursuing without eliminating any? All those, any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And thank you. And anybody opposed? Nobody opposed. Okay, it passes, and we move on to number 3, which is similar to what we were just discussing, consideration with possible action on assessment of new polling locations using the WEC guidelines.
So let's hold until the next meeting.
Okay, motion by Chief of Staff Jeffries. Do I see a second?
I second.
Thank you, H. James. Second by H. James. And any other discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor of holding item number 3 of regular business until next meeting, say aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed? No one's opposed, passed unanimously. Number 4, consideration with possible action on other needs at polling locations such as heaters, fans, signage, and parking.
I make a motion to hold this to the next meeting.
Second.
Go ahead.
I seconded
I
it.
missed second. Okay, thank you, Alder Dorff. Motion made by Chief of Staff Jeffries, second by Alder Dorff to hold number 4, regular business, item E, until my discussion. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed? Okay, it passes unanimous. Item E will be held until next meeting. Okay, number 5, consideration with possible action on approving the purchase of a ballot folder, DS-450, and electronic poll book.
So I have a document to share. This was in your packet, so I'll screen share it. So at the bottom, we have the DS-450, that's the approximate cost. Then the ballot folder, which I didn't have a chance to put in there. I think it's, Chris, how much is that? $49?
$42.99 for the 2 of them.
$32.90. That's a
No,
bargain.
42.
Oh, 42. All
Yep.
right, $42.99. Okay.
Chris, you said that was for two of them?
No, it's one ballot folder and then but the one that in the envelopes.
And an envelope opener, right?
Okay.
Yep.
Opener. Okay. And then, and then the electronic poll books, you'll see that there is, you'll have to explain this one, Chris. It was a very long email, and so, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. The cost here, I didn't get a response from the girl that the WEC directed me to. These prices here are the 2018 prices. So we would need, how they recommend it is, we recommend one machine per polling place plus one client or non-server device per 800 voters. So some places would need, I was told in the beginning when I went to some of the meetings on this that we would need 3 per polling location. So we are getting into a lot of money. Now when it comes to these extra costs, I know there's printers and things like that. So I would have to get more clarification. I know the WEC created their own Badger books now, and then there's companies that do this. So I'd have to get more, but from the email, it sounds like we can't get them anyway.
Right. So, Chris, for everyone's edification, can you just say why the electronic poll books are helpful? Although it seems like we will not be able to get them even for November, right? From the email yes. So, but tell everybody why the electronic poll books are helpful.
To me, there's pros and cons, because I know in February they stalled on clerks. So even though electronic poll books are, you would go up and you would sign on like a pad, like you do for credit card. It would help us with registrations. Evidently, we wouldn't have to put that information in after, things like that. We still have to print poll books though, for backup in case electricity goes out, things like that. So there's some people that don't want to sign on these, and if they don't sign, they don't vote. So I don't know, but it looks like we can't get them anyway.
So, I didn't know that we had to, of course we have to have a backup paper. That makes sense. Okay, well.
Now would be a good time to get them though, getting all new poll workers. Because clerks found that some of their regulars quit on them when they went to these.
Chris, are they difficult to use? I mean, would we end up losing more poll workers because they are of the older generation?
Yeah, I think so. I truly do. But being that, I've had some quit already because with their health, they don't know when this is going to end. So they just quit. But it's another convenience, but again, it's another thing that could go wrong. They didn't say anything about maintenance fees per year or anything either. So not sure.
Just for my, clarification, if we did any kind of motion or anything on this poll book, it would be if they became available, because right now none of them are available, correct?
Correct.
That's how I read this. They wanted us to do it last year already because there is training involved. So I think Kim and I know that kind of with the big election, now's not the time to throw something new in.
Okay.
But, we're game, we're for it if you want to do it, but just so you know. Aw.
Okay. Do we want to vote on these individually? The various, that's the electronic poll books, or do you want to discuss or we vote?
I had a question.
Sure. Go ahead, Alder Joyer, yes.
Thank you, Chair. So are we committed? We're not committed to picking up this DS 450 yet? I mean, I guess I just wanted to know if we do not get this, how much more time and money would be spent? And where is the money coming from to pay for this, unless I missed that? So those are my questions.
For clarification, you're asking about the DS 450?
Yes.
Okay. Clerk Tetesky, or I guess Clerk Tetesky, could you address that, the DS 450?
Yes, from my understanding, and Celestine, correct me if I'm wrong, there's other things that we're looking at to get before we would spend money on that. We're looking to see what money we get in. My worry is they're going to be gone, but so be it then. It's just that it's going to take us a long time on election day.
That's accurate.
Thank you.
And Alder Stoyer, we want to make sure that we know what all the costs are in order to improve access, speed, fill in
Right.
some, for election day. And if we can't acquire the funds, if we don't have the funds, then at least we know what the lay of the land looks like.
And do we have something listing as far as how we will get those funds? How would the funds come about?
Right. So right now there are some entities that are interested in funding election efforts, especially in Wisconsin, but in other parts of the United States. And these are nonprofits. So that's what essentially this is grant. I'm talking about grants.
All right. Well, we'll wait and see.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, so we're still, there's one more item. Do we want to discuss that before we make a motion? I mean, usually we make motions, but I think we need information on these before the ballot folder is the last one. And this is the one I believe we received an email this afternoon
Yes.
about.
Yes.
Correct?
So
Okay.
I'll put that up as well. Give me 1 second.
Great. And then perhaps Clerk Tetesky or Kim Waite could explain how this would help or speed up the process once that is on the screen.
Go ahead, Kim.
Well, right now we manually fold every ballot in thirds and we stuff them in every envelope. So if you have 17,000 ballots, you have 5 of us as of right now that fold them and stuff them. So a folder would probably be very nice to be able to slip a ballot through this folder and fold it, whip it out, put it in the envelope. It would save time and save our fingers.
In the ballot opener, our issue there is when people are opening them, even though I get the bigger envelopes that are allowed, if you use a letter opener, it sometimes rips the ballot depending on where the ballot is situated in the envelope. So if this machine, this information came from the county, it's not something I just found on the internet. So I'm assuming it's good. That would help a lot too, because we can't open envelopes ahead of time. It has to be the day of election.
Say that one more
And,
time, Chris, so that
Alder
everybody
Dorff.
understands.
I'm
I
sorry.
just wondered, would we need more than one of these or just one of each of these? Is that what we're talking about?
I'd be happy with just one of each.
This one, I would make a motion to absolutely get those. And I know we have some money because I know Alder Weary had at least put $20,000 of something that we talked about at council. I can't remember the exact place that it was coming from, but I think that we have the money for this. So I would make a motion for this unless we want to do everything together.
Oh, that's fine. So a motion has been made by Alder Dorf to purchase or to recommend that the city council, or I don't know, to recommend that a purchase be made. I don't know who would be actually making it, but to purchase the package of the ballot folder and opener package.
I would second that.
And I did not see who seconded because I don't have all the screens. Is that Terry?
Yep.
Terry, okay. So on the floor now is a motion by Alder Dorf, second by Terry Racine, to purchase or to recommend the purchase of the ballot folder and opener package. Any more discussion on that? I think one thing to just because we're all assuming everybody who follows this, if anybody does follow it, this is specifically for the absentee ballot, correct? And we're assuming and hoping that there will be many absentee ballots in August and especially in November. Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And nod, Chief of Staff Jeffries, okay.
Yes.
Do I have to add to the motion and then to forward it to finance? Does it have to actually go to finance to be authorized?
Most likely.
Can I just roll that then, amend my motion and roll? We recommended that to finance that we purchase this.
Yes. That would be a good recommendation.
That's how I would like to restate the motion and see if the second will agree. I would like to move that we forward the request to purchase the manual, the ballot folder and opener package to the Finance Committee for their next meeting, which is on Tuesday.
I second that.
Perfect. And is that Terry?
Yes.
Seconded that. Any further discussion by the committee? Or by anybody? I don't see anybody. I'm scrolling through the pictures. Okay, so seeing no other hands raised for discussion, all those in favor of the motion made by Alder Dorf and seconded by Terry Racine, please say aye.
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 And any opposed? None opposed. And I will note for the record that Alderman Weary is present and voted on this particular motion. And I'm sorry if I missed you earlier when you arrived.
No, that's all right.
What time was what time was it, Alder Weary, that you came on?
I've been on since noon.
Uh-huh.
No, I don't know. Maybe 5:35, something like that.
Okay, thank you.
I was in the waiting room until Bart messaged me.
Okay, so the item number 5, approval and recommendation of moving the ballot folder to the Finance Committee has passed, and we still have 2 more items on number 5. Do we want to make a motion on those, or do we want to hold? What would the floor like?
I make a motion that we hold any recommendations on the purchase of the DS 450 and the electronic poll books until funding can be identified.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Chief of Staff Jeffries, second by Alder Dorf. Any further discussion on those 2 items? Okay, seeing no hands. All those in favor of holding those 2 items, just identified by Chief of Staff Jeffries, please say aye.
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 And all those opposed? No one opposed, so that passes as well. Okay, so that moves us on to poll workers. Item number 1, consideration with possible action on updated count of poll workers. So Clerk Teskey will turn to you. Do you have an updated number?
I apologize. I don't have the exact number because I've been working on border review all week, but I've been watching them come in, and we've had, I think, about 20 people They either applied already or they asked for an application. So we're really doing good with that. And I got quite a few City Hall people for in office. I just haven't gotten to that yet, which I will. I need to get usernames and passwords for them from the state.
Perfect. Okay. This is I was going to add to that, but this is number 2. And I'm not sure we necessarily need to vote on the update on the poll workers, unless we wanted to hold that for the next meeting to have another report. No. Okay.
No,
So,
I mean, we can just, receive and place on file would be my suggestion, and then we'll just continually update that.
Perfect.
Can I ask?
Oh, go ahead, Korteski.
I just want to say something to H. H, you had asked me about poll workers about people that are interested in working that are not poll workers, that are not, gosh, I've had a long day, that are not U.S. citizens.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to know that it has been decided that they could help with greeting or sanitizing or anything that isn't a poll worker duty. So
Okay.
if your people that you had talked to are still interested, we'd be more than happy.
Okay. And what do
Thank
they need to do to get that? Do they just,
Maybe
I would still have them apply because we have to send them the paperwork to get paid and everything. I think though, Celestine, correct me if I'm being out of line, but on the application, can they put not a U.S. citizen? Is that okay?
In order to get paid, you have to have.
No, they'll get paid.
Oh.
I need to know that they cannot be a poll worker because they're not a citizen.
I would just say volunteer. Just say volunteer. That way we don't have to worry about anything because it would be public record and I don't want to. If they just say they want to just be a volunteer rather than a poll worker, I think that's my suggestion. I don't know if I have any say in it, but that's my suggestion.
So to not get paid.
Yeah. I mean, you said that even if they're being a greeter, did they get paid?
Sure.
Okay.
But on the application, you have a choice to get paid or not get paid. So and I don't know if they're U.S. citizens. So and we've had one apply now, which I'm happy about, but I don't know if you can tell them to just put volunteer then.
How about, let me think about that.
Okay.
I mean, if you're willing to pay them, I think they're going to want to get paid, but not poll worker, not poll worker or something like that. So that they know that they're not trying to apply for a poll worker, but they're trying to apply to assist with other duties.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks.
Karen?
could they be able to help with some of the language barriers? Sometimes it's difficult.
I think that would be,
trying to communicate.
I think that would be a great idea, Karen. Great idea.
Yeah. Especially if we get like the 4 high schools, or we could have a couple of them at each, or at least one that could be called over and help with some of the questions that
That's why I like, that's why I like just 4 places, because we can do so much more.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Okay. In terms of an update on current outreach efforts to recruit poll workers.
Susan.
Oh, sorry, Alder Steuer.
Thank you, Chair. Did you want me, I did contact the state about National Guard. Did you want me to read that at this time or hold off? As far as.
Sure.
All right, I'll have to read it. It's not too long. It's from Reed Magny at WEC. And he said, I now have an answer to your question. The WEC will keep working with the National Guard as part of the State Emergency Operations Center, but their role is to serve in emergencies. Our advice is that municipalities should be making every effort to recruit and train poll workers and reserve. There is no guarantee nor any way for us to get one this early on. that the Wisconsin National Guard will be able to assist in November. Finally, one other suggestion of potential poll workers might be city licensed bartenders who are out of work due to the pandemic. The city of Madison did that for the April 7th election. So I guess if we didn't have enough poll workers, would that be considered an emergency? You know, so that's, I don't know. So that's just the letter I got from the state.
Okay. So, and I think in terms of outreach, I think what we discussed at our last meeting was similar to the obtaining polling locations, not to eliminate any possibility. So the National Guard, we understand, is not, we wouldn't know until closer to the election. So basically, we're not going to count on those numbers right now. And our goal right now is to just recruit as many possible poll workers as we can. So that's Clerk Teskey and I this week worked on a press release and a social media posting that went out on June 2nd on both the city's website and their Facebook site. So any groups that you belong to or that you want to share this with, now would be the time. And it gives information on who to call, how to contact them via email. And, you know, I would encourage everyone to share this as widely as possible. I've already seen it on a couple of different websites and social media postings, so that's good. And I will work this coming week with Clerk Teskey to send this out to a wide variety of groups in Green Bay and Brown County, because as Clerk Teskey pointed out, we can ask for poll workers can be from Brown County and work in Green Bay, even if they're not Green Bay citizens or residents. Correct, Clerk?
Correct. As long as they're in Brown County.
Right, as long as they live in Brown County. So that went out, like I said, on June 2nd, and I encourage everyone on this call to spread that message as widely as possible, and hopefully our numbers will tick up more on the poll workers.
I asked Clerk Teskey one other thing.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, Chris, you know, with, you know, the fact that we need poll workers, are we, you know, how can I word this? You know, I understand that it takes like 9.5 to 10 hours to look at videos and all sorts of things. So I'm wondering, as far as the time frame, is that going to be difficult to get poll workers if you need to get that training and be up to speed so that you'll be there in time for the August election?
No, because what the WEC did right before the April election is they did a webinar. So
Okay.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to direct everyone to the webinar more toward the beginning of July, because I don't want them to do it now and then lose that knowledge. So, you know, I'll send it out, and the beauty of that is instead of having to pick a time when Kim and I could do it in person, which is how we normally did it, now people can do it at their own leisure. So it really helps with people that work. And Terry can attest to that because she's taken off, you know, in years past to attend, you know, our training. So this way people can do it online. And then we have a specific packet for the city of Green Bay that we will email to them that they can read that too. So that's not going to be, that'll be, I haven't looked to see how long the webinar is, but it's going to be probably about 3 hours of training for just an election inspector. When it comes to a chief inspector, that's different. And I am short on those. So anyone that wants to do that, that is 6 hours before their first election that they can work.
Okay. All right. Well, I just, you know, I think I'm just looking at time sensitivity here to make sure that, you know, we can do this in time. And if you're going to do it in July, you're thinking that there will be enough time, you know, for people to be trained and on board for August.
As long as they can do that on their own, I have no doubt about that at all. And what I want to do is mix our seasoned workers with the new ones. And that's a good training in August also, because August normally isn't as big as November. So then that'll be
Right.
kind of like a training for them also.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yes, Kim. Oh,
So
sorry.
with these oh, no, that's okay. With August and November being federal elections and no local elections on there, are all the aldermen going to sign up to be poll workers?
I'm thinking of them.
Oh, Kim.
Yeah,
Wow.
they might as well.
Now Alder
Yes,
Mary, you
Carrie?
could be,
The training, I think by webinar is actually a great idea, because I think when all these people show up at the meetings, they can really run off on tangents with question after question after question and wanting to share all their experiences, and it takes forever. So I think webinars are a great thing.
Oh, good.
When it's all over, do you sign a sheet or something that says you passed, or what do you do?
when it comes to election inspectors, we will take their word for it. When it comes to the chief inspectors, they have to, that's specific training that they have to actually have a password and username to get into the system with the WEC. So that's monitored that way.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, anything else on 1 and 2 regarding poll workers? All right, I'm not sure we have to vote on anything really with those unless we want to hold for the next meeting.
Yeah, let's just hold that to the next meeting.
Okay.
Whoops.
And number 3 is consideration with possible action on list of personal protective equipment for poll workers, determining which equipment will be mandatory.
Yes, let me just pull that up. Sorry. Okay. So we are getting some of the costs in for the, like I said, we're just doing, once again, the full complement of potential PPE, gowns, nets, face shields, gloves, hand sanitizers, cough guards, masks for voters, pens, sanitizing wipes, or paper towels and sanitizing spray. So as you can see, in terms of the cough guards, that's a fairly hefty cost. And the $99 are smaller ones, and the $189 ones are a little larger. This would obviously depend on whether or not we have 8-foot tables or 6-foot tables, preferably 8-foot tables. And then I just did a rough estimate, Chris. Each ward has an 8-foot table, and each table would have 2 guards. So
I think we need more than that, though, Celestine.
oh, you do. So
I
you
think
tell
we need
me.
smaller tables.
Pardon me?
Say it again,
I think
Terry.
we need smaller tables.
Well, we want to keep the distance, but I figured about 150.
You figured about 150 of the regardless of the
Right.
size. 150
Yep.
of the smaller ones.
Well, we could probably do the remaining after the 94. So that'd be what, 56? We could probably do those smaller because we have it at the poll book table. And like I said, though, some have 4 poll books. And then we need it at the registration tables, and out at GB, that's a lot of people out there. So, and then we had them at the, like, what do I want to say, the greeter table. And that's only going to be for bigger places that need a greeter at the door. If it's their normal place, I don't think we need greeters. So I can, well, we won't know until we know the polling locations.
Right. So, I mean, minimally, we're talking $24,000. So, but like I said, this is the part of doing this is making sure that we understand what costs we would need. So we have to finalize those. But for now, we're talking about, $23,000.
How are they
minimally.
doing that so much cheaper than what the Parks Committee made? I don't understand that.
Well, that's why we've got a procurement manager.
I'm hoping that he did the correct dimensions, because I just got those to him.
Yes. So this is, like I said, we're still working on this. This is not final.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not final. Let me make sure everybody knows. This is a working document, not final. The hand sanitizer, though, that is a final cost. So 4 1-gallon containers, $200. Yeah. I mean, yeah. That's a lot of money.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Are we dumping those then into smaller containers, or how are we doing this?
Yeah, I think it would probably have to be the smaller containers. Now granted though, if we were at the 4 high schools, not sure if that's going to happen, but if we were at the 4 high schools, then we would want a couple larger containers so that we wouldn't have to constantly fill them. So once again, that just depends on where we are. I actually did see it a little cheaper someplace else, but anyway, that's what we've got. So the question like I said, we're still getting these costs. Hopefully I'll have the rest of these costs filled in by next week from our procurement manager, Calvin Winters. So Chris wanted to also have a conversation and make some decisions today about whether or not we would make these items mandatory for poll workers. Obviously, the masks for the voters, we want to make sure we have some to provide to people who would like to have one, but not making those mandatory for the voters. But the question is whether or not to make the PPE mandatory for poll workers.
Can I explain?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I received an email through the clerk inquiries. He said he had to decide if he was going to be a poll worker or not. And he really, he does not want to wear a mask. He doesn't want to breathe in his own carbon dioxide. If he works, he would like gloves for every single person, to switch gloves every time he works, or every time he helps a new person. So he's getting very, I mean, I can print it out and read it if you want, but that's the gist, that he just doesn't think that he should have to wear it and do anything like that. So I guess from listening to the news, there's, it's respect for other people. So what do we want to do? Do we want someone that doesn't want to? I mean, can we turn them away? I mean, some poll workers, would you want to be a poll worker? I think Celestine or somebody made that comment. Would you want to be a poll worker with a mask, with gloves, working alongside someone that isn't? So we have to think of it that way too.
Well, from my own perspective, I think I would have to, I guess there are 2 considerations I have. One is the timing right now. I think we certainly have to plan for all of these items for poll workers. So whether it's gloves, and so we can figure out costs and we can more accurately recommend something either to finance or to the city council or the common council. But I think I would need a little more information on best practices, what's recommended, because I know in April we saw everything, right? I mean, there were people that had full body PPE on, and there were others that simply had a mask. So at least from my perspective, I would want a little bit more information on, what's recommended as the best practice, I feel like I don't have enough information in front of me to make that recommendation, but I open up the discussion to the committee. Yes, Alder Dorff.
Clerk Chesky, did you see that he was insisting that people that he worked with had to change gloves every time he worked with a new person?
I just take a minute and print it. Yeah, he wants to have gloves for every time he worked with a different person, a different voter. So he could deal with 1,000 voters in a day, and he wants 1,000 pair of gloves.
Okay, well, no, they don't think we can afford to take him, and I don't think there's any problem with us saying that, thank you so much for offering, this isn't really going to work out, because it's really not going to. It's just not. So, yeah.
Well,
That's what I think.
and knowing what we went through in April, these are the kind of things that I worry about, because is it going to hit the fan on Facebook of people saying they wouldn't take me?
Yeah, well, I guess we have to always worry about everything, but you know what? I think this one's pretty justified, and I'd be standing there right behind you. Alder Weary, how about you? Would you stand behind that if someone demanded 1,000 pairs of gloves? Alder Weary?
For one person?
Yeah.
No, that's a bit excessive, yeah.
Chairman Smith, Allison has her
Karen.
hand up.
Sorry, Carrie and then Karen.
Hi, I just wanted to stack.
Go ahead, Karen.
Okay. I went back to work at Kohl's. They opened limited hours. We have to wear a mask. They're told that. And we have to wear gloves. But we sanitize every customer. We sanitize our hands with hand sanitizer. And we clean up everything, every customer. So that would be if we wear gloves, and every time we did a voter, then we would sanitize our hands, I guess. I mean, just a little dab and you rub it on and it's sanitized. As a suggestion. Maybe that would help make that gentleman happy.
And
I can read the email, because I don't think anything's going to make him happy, but yeah, I can try that.
if we're busy, that really holds up the movement of getting the voters through. If he's got to change his gloves every person, we'll never get through everyone.
Chair Allison has her hand up.
Okay, Allison.
Thanks, and I apologize for not having video today. So I think everyone's sensible things about the glove issue. I guess my concern about the mask question is, the most important thing is that people have access to the polls and they feel like they can vote. And I think there are some voters who might not be willing to vote if the person doesn't have a mask on, where even if they might be upset, I don't know that there are voters who would not vote if someone was wearing a mask. So to me, while I agree maybe we don't have enough information to make a decision today, I feel like we should be on the side of enabling voters rather than potentially scaring some off.
Okay, Alder Dorff.
Just may I ask, first, Clerk Teskey feels as though she has a clear understanding of what she can go ahead and do? No, so that's important. I believe it's important that when we leave meetings, we have a clear understanding of what we're saying. In my mind, what we're saying is, thank you so much. We won't be able to accommodate your needs. Yes, you have to wear a mask. No, we can't give you gloves. If you still want to work, then you can work. I think at some point we have to be a little bit assertive.
And I think that's a good, sorry.
Go ahead.
I think
Clerk
that's
Teskey.
a good point. I think masks, like, what Allison said, I think that's an excellent point. I think poll workers should have to wear a mask. Not necessarily gloves, as long as, like Karen said, they sanitize, maybe not after each one, but I mean, just periodically sanitize their hands. But then we'd have to have more containers. But I think the mask is huge, in my opinion.
So do you need a motion? I mean, do we need to decide as a committee that we are going to say yes? Or do we not have enough information? Or we should decide as a committee. I'll make a motion that poll workers will need to wear a mask if the COVID-19 pandemic is still going on in August and November.
I second that.
Okay, motion made by Alder Dorf and second by Karen Schley to make it mandatory that poll workers wear a mask during the August and November elections as long as the COVID-19 pandemic is still going on. Any more discussion?
Yeah.
Yes, Alder Wary.
Thank you.
Alderman Wary.
Thank you. Now, I concur with that. We're the employer and we're doing, involving the public. So I see no problem with requiring it for the workers. And Chris, yeah, I think if we give in to this person, you could have a lot of different requests of all different types, and it'll keep you busy trying to satisfy each individual person. I think we just said, oh, hey, you're going to wear a mask. You've got hand sanitizer. You got some gloves if you want them. Good enough. Otherwise, you're going to run around trying to accommodate all kinds of different requests. So,
Can I amend my motion? Can I add?
Yes, I'll
Okay, I would just like to add to my motion after, masks, and be given a reasonable number of gloves to use. And we'll decide what's reasonable. Okay? Covers both bases. Will my second agree to that?
I do, yes.
Okay.
The thing with gloves, if we work a 13-hour day, we may wear them out.
I said reasonable. I didn't say one.
Right. The lawyer in me says that there will be so much discussion on what is reasonable, but
we can decide that.
Reasonable can be defined many ways, but understood. And I think we're all reasonable. So, and I think as we get closer, obviously, to the election, we know how many poll workers will, and we need to start filling in those numbers that Chief of Staff Jeffries is tracking. We'll come up with a better decision on what reasonable is. So I think that's good. Any more discussion on this? Seeing none, we'll vote on the amended motion by Alder Dorf to require masks and reasonable amount of gloves for poll workers. Second by Karen Schley. All those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, we're unanimous on that. I think that will cover it for number 3. So we'll move on to regular business G, number 1, consideration with possible action on advertising early in-person absentee voting and absentee voting.
So I given you the document that has all the costs on it. We discussed this the last time. Right now, the next thing to do is to create, which I did not have an opportunity to do given the events of the last week and a half. So I would just make a motion to hold this item until next week so that I can show you what I would like to put out there for our advertising. The advertising, just to reiterate, is working with a company, making sure that with our procurement manager that I do not need to go out for bid on that. But it would be basically geofencing, which is a way to put advertising directly into people's cell phones, a little creepy, but actually effective for our purposes, to put advertising in people's cell phones about early in-person absentee and absentee voting, and then also a series of posters. Posters are basically billboards, but they move a little bit around town. So that whole package would cost under $7,000 for the November election. If we wanted to do it for the August as well as the November, then obviously double that cost. But I would just make a motion to hold this until next week.
Okay.
Second.
Second by Alder Dorf. So motion by Chief of Staff Jeffries, second by Alder Dorf, to hold item number 1, item G, for the next meeting. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 And any opposed? Okay, it passes unanimously. We move on to number 2, consideration with possible action on creating a social media campaign to advertise early in-person absentee voting and absentee voting.
So I do have a couple of things to share with you, and then I know that H and Allison were doing a lot of work, so they actually have the lion's share of what to talk about with this item. Let me just pull this up. So we do have on our website, hopefully this, whoops. Hopefully this will link. No, it won't, sorry. Okay, so we did put on our website, we have a how do I, let me move this little thing here. Over here we have how do I, and then if you hover over, you can see how do I vote. Click on that. And then it takes you to My Vote Wisconsin, so that does everything there. So that's one thing we have done. And the other thing we have done, Kovo did a very nice campaign. Kovo, H stands for, tell me again, tell everybody.
Coalition of Voting Organizations of Brown County, Wisconsin.
Thank y'all. And so let me share
Okay.
that screen. And so this is what Kovo did on their Facebook page. Phone a friend, request an absentee ballot. So it's very nice with Uncle Sam.
Very good.
Okay, so then Allison and H have a lot to offer for both this item and the next item.
All right, I will let either one of you start.
We have a few things to offer, and then our plan was to share our document before the next meeting so that folks could look at it already, although with some action on the first item, there's some steps we're already taking. So and this might split a little bit between items 2 and others, we had been thinking about our subcommittee as having 3 central goals. The first one being about absentee, that is by mail voting, and the second one being about early in-person voting. And then we actually added an additional goal that's kind of just a broad, clear communication goal, particularly having to do with changes around polling locations, safety plans, all the things that the other subcommittees are kind of talking about. And then a fourth goal that is about thinking about the kind of civic celebration aspects of voting, little things like an I voted sticker. And while that's kind of a lower priority, there's a lot of evidence that people care about that kind of stuff. And if you want them to do things like vote by mail or vote early, you have to think about how do you replicate that experience of being part of your community that going to the polls can create for folks. So we will share a document next week, but Celestine, I think, is already getting us started on those 2 elements of thinking about the geofencing and then the social media campaign. We have a community and also organizations like the Civic Design, the Center for Civic Design, that has a lot of templates that are pretty easy to adopt that we could use to sort of brand and make everything match over these various goals. So I think that's our general plan, was to bring this more formal document to you next week, but also to get folks' thoughts on those broad 4 goals, if there's not thinking of. And yeah, H, have other things to add?
Not at this time. I think when we present next time, we'll have a visual so that everyone can see.
Great. Any discussion or any other comments? That sounds great. As you have so far, looks good. Go ahead.
Susan, can I just ask, did you send out that other press release or not yet?
That won't come from me. I sent it to you. So I did a similar press release. I did a draft absentee ballot press release, and I can share that with H and Allison that can be used. But I think if it's ready from your perspective, it should be sent, same thing to the city, put it on the city website, put it on the Facebook site, and then people can share that. But that was basically just the information from the clerk's office on this is how you vote by mail.
Okay.
And it did not include the early in-person voting information yet. And I think that's fine because we can really push to get people to register for absentee. But so I did a press release as well for that went to the clerk, and I'll share it we can share it next week as well.
Okay, so you want me, what we talked about, you want me to send that to Shelby and to Celestine? I did the poll worker one. I didn't do the absentee one. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine.
So I'll look for that, Chris.
Okay.
I mean, Shelby will probably post it faster than I will, given recent events.
A lot going on. Going on. Anything else from the committee on that item?
So I would recommend that we hold those items until next week.
Okay. And a second from anyone?
Second.
Alder Dorff seconds. Okay. Motion by Chief of Staff Jeffries, motion by Alder Dorff to hold items 1 and 2. I think, did we already vote on 1? I'm not sure we did, but 1 and 2.
We did.
We did. Okay. So just number 2, consideration with possible action on creating a social media campaign to advertise early in-person absentee voting and absentee voting. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And any opposed? Seeing none, it's unanimous. Okay, last item on the agenda is number 3 of item G, consideration with possible action on expanding the number of early in-person absentee polling locations in the city of Green Bay.
So over time, we have talked about this issue. We had a conversation with UWGB in the fall, late fall, about whether or not it would be prudent and then how much it would cost for us to have additional early in-person absentee polling locations in the city of Green Bay. Currently, we only have the clerk's office. And so there are some costs associated with this. We would definitely need staff in order to staff additional polling locations when we have absentee voting also happening in the clerk's office. So the question is, does the committee really feel like we should go ahead and start trying to pursue that? We would need to actually find a location that would want to have the city of Green Bay in it for 4 to 6 weeks every day, in order to match what's going on down in the clerk's office, or at least minimally, Chris, and you have to tell me the rules, minimally 2 weeks every day before Election Day.
And
so go ahead, Chris.
And what that entails is we would have to have an express vote at each one. And then what would happen is we'd have to have 47 different ballot styles sent to each one. We'd have to have, we would have the computers, which is fine. We wouldn't have to do poll books. Now we could do the computers. But those supplies have to get taken there every day, and everything has to be brought back every day. Everything. Because I'm in charge of, the ballots and the equipment and everything. And I talked to the WEC about this, and they said, unless you know for sure that nobody can get into that closet, that room, you don't know if it's secure or not. So unless it would be a city-owned building, that would work better, but the ballots will still have to be brought back along with the voted ballots. So it's a lot of back and forth.
Have we ever had early in-person absentee in another location?
other than this last election at Transit? No. And it's too hard. The other thing is the express votes are at the West Side Garage, and the guys are working on those to have them ready for the election. So I can't have them, you know, like the week before, have express votes out there somewhere else, because we need to have them ready for election day.
Yes, Terry.
To me, it's almost sounding like having the extra locations is more complicated. We're already struggling just getting primary places. I almost think if we just stay status quo, that people will follow that, and it was that way last time, and maybe that just might make things easier. So I don't know that I would agree to other places.
I'm sorry, are you done, Terry?
Nope.
Okay, Alderman Wary?
Thank you, Chairman. I would agree with Terry. I think with all that we have on our plate right now, it's not like we're not going to have early voting. We still will. And we have a push on absentee voting. I think this is one that falls down on the priority list. So, like, let's put our focus elsewhere.
I agree.
Can
I would
someone
agree
make
with
a
that
motion?
too. Anybody want to make a motion? Alderman Wary?
Kim wants to talk.
I just wanted to make
sorry,
a,
Kim.
yep, I just wanted to make a comment. I had to get some numbers together today, and just from February into April, we had almost 3,000 more absentee requests for the mail even. So it's being utilized. I would not agree to more in-person or early voting in-person locations. That's just going to be way too complicated.
Okay, so if anybody wants to make a motion?
Well, we can either receive and place on file or just maintain past practice with early voting. I'll make a motion to just maintain past practice of early voting in Green Bay.
Second.
Okay, so motion has been made by Alderman Wary to maintain past practice of the one location for early in-person absentee voting, and maintain basically the status quo on that. Second by Alder Dorff. Any other discussion on that item?
This is Allison. Can I just add, I certainly understand in the current circumstance why adding another thing everyone's to-do list is a challenge, but I also think that if we are thinking about young people being engaged in the political process, having an early voting location at UWGB, you know, I'm obviously somewhat biased, is a way to do that. And I also know that they do it at other UW schools, despite the capacity issues that I see it could create and that might be too much of a hurdle in this election, I hope that people, you know, consider the possible benefits of this, not just for students, but, you know, for our broader community. So.
Yes, Chief of Staff Jeffries.
Yes, Allison, I would agree that for future elections, we really need to look very carefully, not only at UWGB, but also at NWTC. And those are at the further edges of town. You know, NWTC has students from not just Brown County, right? So, and not just Green Bay, but a lot of adults coming through NWTC. So I definitely would like, and you know, when we had our meeting with UWGB back in the late fall, it really seemed like there was some good movement, but it is important, and it's a little bit of a heavy lift. So I think, you know, moving forward, as we're looking at other funding sources that are interested in promoting, improving, deepening, widening election process in you know, Wisconsin and Green Bay, that definitely is on our list for the future.
Any further discussion?
And thanks for that, Celestine. I appreciate that.
You bet.
Okay, seeing none, the motion on the floor is by Alderman Wery to maintain the current process for process and location for early in-person absentee location, seconded by Alder Dorf. All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. And anyone opposed? Okay, none, so it passed unanimously. And
So
we'll move on.
I want to make sure
Yes,
that
Chris.
this is official. We're not going back at all. This is official. 'Cause I'm getting questions
Yes.
by a lot of people on this. Okay.
This
good.
is this
Thank
is
you.
a recommendation of this committee.
To City
Yes.
Council at our next meeting.
Correct. Yes, at our June 29th meeting will be this report. So
Right, so I know that's not a good answer for Chris, but I would say it's as official as it can be, because this is what the committee is recommending, and we have every reason to believe this is what will happen. So
Okay.
it's what the committee recommended. I think that's a good answer. It's what the committee
Okay.
recommended.
Sounds good.
Unanimously.
Unanimously.
Add that.
There you go. Move to adjourn.
second.
Would you like that?
Yes, motion by Alder Dorf and second by Alderman Wery to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And no, anyone opposed?
Who wants to stay?
Hearing none, it's unanimous. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
I'll stay to make up time. I'll stay on.
Okay.
No, bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Chris,
Oh,
Chris Teskey,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
any chance you have my cell phone handy with you?
Do I what?
You have my cell phone number handy by you?
I know it's still in there, but yeah.
I'm wondering if you could give me a quick call.
Okay, I just want to hang on. I want to see if I can,
Otherwise, I'll give it to you quick.
oh, are we done recording?
No. That's weird. The panel went off. Gosh darn it. Oh. The panel went off. Okay. Okay, wait, hold on.